Hey guys, it's Mike, back with another video of the 1840. Got it in the shop, I've been looking it over, and I'll show you where I'm at with it. First thing I noticed, the lift stopped working, and I noticed when I picked it up, it had some, it was kind of bouncing like it had air in the system. I'll come to find out the hydraulic fluid, which is added through here, was really low. I put 4 gallons of fluid in it, and it's still not on the reservoir sight glass. But still not showing up. But at least I was able to raise that. So, which tells me I probably have a pretty big hydraulic leak somewhere on this machine. And based on how much oil-soaked mud that I got out of the belly pan of this, I'm assuming it's either coming from the front seal of the twin pump, but I don't see any evidence of drips from the bell housing, or it's coming through those parking brake boots because the wheel motors are pushing fluid through a worn out seal. Both of those are guesses. I don't even know if it has a leak at all, but being that was so low, it's hard to imagine there isn't. But I did find a fairly major issue, I guess is common with these machines, is the front pump bolts. That bolt was actually missing. I thought it was broken off, but it was not. And the other bolt on the other side was backed out about 2 or 3 turns. The bracket that holds the rod of the pump, it runs across the bottom and bolts, it's tight. I ended up putting some grade 5 USA bolts that came from a Ford tractor project, and they're vintage bolts from the late 70s, so I'm pretty sure they're very high quality bolts. So I tightened those down, and the threads had no problems. I'm assuming that it simply vibrated loose. And I did put some blue Loctite, Permatex Loctite on the threads. So I will keep an eye on that if there's an issue there. Got the cab slid forward. That was a little bit of a chore. Unfortunately, I've never slid the cab forward before in one of these, and I didn't see this harness. So I pulled the fuse block, the terminals out of it, but I was able to purchase new terminals that are exact fit to this old Packard Electric PACCON 3 connector. I could have just went up and bought a $5 fuse thing from the auto store, but I kind of like to keep things original, so got those coming for, I don't know, $7 including shipping. But this machine does indeed have all new hoses on it, and they're all in great shape. I don't see any leaks. I really don't see any obvious leaks anywhere on it. And but it did have a lot. Took 5 gallons of material out of the belly pan of this. It was sticks and rocks and crusty dirt and just nastiness all around. But I'll show you what I'm working on my project for tonight. I'll grab this light here. I'm kind of picky with linkages and them being tight. There wasn't a whole lot of play in it, but I noticed this arm it's all loose now, but sat a little bit forward from this one. And from what I can tell, the centering is done by this spring mechanism. And as you can see, the cup there is shifted to one side. And so I took this mechanism out on this side, and that rod is worn into the side of those cups. There's one on front and back, and that's like a centering mechanism, return mechanism for the lever. But I'm gonna bring that that system there back into more of a new condition. I have some material I bought at my local metal supply here, and I'll show you what my plan is for that here in a minute. All right, so I'm over here on my welding bench, and here are the components that I cleaned up. Here's that bracket that was in there. There really isn't anything wrong with this, but this 3/8 rod, it's definitely been rubbing. You can't adjust it because of all the threads worn off of it. Spring is fine. The collar is in the center. Is okay. It goes like this. The cups, I've already machined the centers out of them. There's a little raised boss that was on here, but it was all worn weird, and it actually wore way far into the side of this cup. So you can still buy these parts from Case, but man, this stuff is expensive. Well, I think it's expensive. Just for one of these rods, it's 50 bucks just for this. And I'm thinking these were like 30 each, or maybe 20 each. This seems crazy to me. These are in pretty good shape. They're usable, but there's some play in them. I did order some new Heim joints from McMaster, just because if I'm putting it back together, I don't want to have to go back in the future, and they're fairly cheap. But so my plan is I bought some from my local metal supplier, some 3/8 1144 stress proof, which I'm going to machine into 2 of these, one for each side. And then to recreate this part, I got 2 pieces here. A piece of Dom with some heavier wall, and a piece of this welded pipe. And it is going to go through here and stick up, and then I'm going to weld it. And that's what keeps these centered on this whole mechanism, is kind of this bushing, and this cup holds the spring. But I can easily fix these for basically nothing. I mean, this piece was $1.61, and for this whole 18-inch piece, 1144, oh, I think it was, let's see here, to hold $2. So $2 to make 2 of these, or 100 bucks for 2. Yeah, it'd be easier just to buy them, but it just seems outrageous to me. So yeah, my shop's kind of got everything jammed in here kind of tight, but that's just how I got it set up. I'm going to make one of these on this machine here, and I'll get you set up after I cut this piece to length, and we'll get to some turning. All right, I'm set up in my Hendy lathe here. I got it cut for just longer, and I'm gonna face the end off. Oh. I'm gonna put a little bit of a taper on the end. Alright, let me catch you guys up a little bit. So I had to switch to the 4-jaw chuck because I had like 9,000ths to run out on the 3-jaw. So I faced the end, center drilled it, and I'm going to put a relief in here. I need 2 inches of thread. I had to grind a new high-speed steel bit. So I took my thread gauge or angle gauge and cut this. So I'm going to mount this into a holder and we'll get going here. Well guys, my first one didn't turn out so well. I kind of smeared the thread. So I got frustrated, and after about an hour or so, I got the second one I made done, and I didn't record it because I couldn't get a good angle. I don't really have a great camera stand to get up high enough. But I don't know, I tried to cut using the compound and then bringing this back to the same position every time, and the thread smeared. And I've had this problem before, and I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong. I am not officially trained by a trade school. This is all I've learned on my own. But I just stopped doing this, and I just fed in here to cut the thread, and it cut good enough. But unfortunately, I didn't buy extra metal. So, but I did, my second try was a success. When I made the original, and not too shabby for a self-taught. But I'll get some new ends tomorrow and get this put back together. Alright guys, so here it is fully assembled. That nut and that lock nut centers this, so to speak. This is the lock nut for there, so you can align these two. Now it's ready to go on machine. Joints are solid. This should make a pretty big difference. Anyway, this is the end of this video. I'll probably do some more videos about how to adjust the neutral position on the pump. We'll see you next time. All right, before I end the video, I think I should show you how this adjusts this neutral position on here. So depending on, there's these 2 bolts that hold that mechanism on, is slotted. Okay. So depending on where you place that, depends on where this center's at. You can see it moving. So if you have one arm that wants to sit forward to the other, my recommendation is you unhook the linkages to the pump and you focus on this part first and get your 2 levers centered. I'm going to measure from here down to the cage, roll cage, to get both of them the same. Now that all the springs and the Heim joints are all new, once I get these 2 centered, Then I'll work my way back to the pump and get everything else centered.